Angelica, thank you so much for joining us today on today's broadcast.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Now, Angelica, how long have you actually been a student for?
Since 2016. So yeah, a good 4.5 years or so.
4.5 years. Good on you. That's awesome. And you work full-time in leadership right now. Tell us a little bit about what you do. What's your focus currently?
There's two streams. One is with leadership purely in a corporate to medium-sized businesses, helping leaders become leaders. So it's kind of polishing them, moving them away from managing into leadership. So that's one part of it. The other part is more working with established entrepreneurs or people that have established their businesses to become leaders and authority in their fields. So that's the other sort of path.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So when you're working with, because both of them, it sounds like it's like you're doing the same thing, but it's different contexts.
Yeah.
So within the teams, it's obviously a completely different context when it's the entrepreneur growing themselves into a leader. When you're working with the teams, what kind of stuff are you teaching them? What kind of conversations are you having with them as you're helping someone move from manager to leader?
I love how you have framed this. So the context is completely different for like pretty much to the individual, because I work within organizations with each leader individually. Same with people that have their established businesses and entrepreneurs. And the context, yes, is different. And most of the time, to be honest, I have no idea about the context. I don't know what it is they do. I'm not an expert in what they do. But what works every time is the model, the framework. So most people believe that the journey is about learning how to lead, where the journey really is about who you need to become to lead. And that applies, doesn't matter the context.
Yeah.
It just applies to everything and every single person.
Well said. Because that applies to parenting, right? That applies to small business, to large business. And I love what you said about it. It actually doesn't matter about the context that they're in, because, you know, I think a lot of people that would be great leadership coaches, that would be great culture changes, might think, well, but I'm not an expert in that business thing that they're into. You know, maybe you go in and you start helping someone in a tech company and you don't know anything about tech. It actually doesn't matter. You don't need to know about tech. That's their thing. That's not your thing. Your thing is the model, and the model applies to everyone because it's always about their being. I love that you said that. I love it. Now, when you go into businesses right now, how is the message changing a little bit around COVID, or are you focusing on the same kind of message? Is it tweaked a little bit because of COVID? I know that you shared with me before we started that you are busier now than you were before, which is awesome that there's so many people you can help. So has it changed, or is it the same when you're in now because of COVID?
So what I've noticed changed is the focus. So the area of focus for all the different businesses have shifted. So I'm used to looking at everything from the 4 dimensions. So whereas probably, you know, the focus was before COVID-19 was in like people, or even if they were already focusing on environment, they might now be more focused on structures, like fortifying some structures, or even implementing new things. So the change has been the focus on one of the dimensions. And what I've seen is in every case, there's been a shift. So my task has been to help them navigate so that they don't go back to like further from what they should be in terms of leadership. So the closer they are into like to environment, the more success they will be able to achieve.
Yeah.
But it's understandable that, you know, especially with cash flow and those sort of things, people will be focusing more in what needs to be implemented now so that we can keep being, you know, sustainable and functional. Yeah. So the shift has been in what they are focusing on. But the strategy remains intact. So it's still, we're still moving people to environment all the time because that's success. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. And do you feel, in a way, does it give you a sense of certainty knowing that no matter what business owner you work with, no matter what industry they're in, if they are in a tech company or if they've got a wood mill or if they're a baker, that the model's the same? Everyone's going out of implementation into structure, into environment. Does that give you a sense of certainty as a business coach and as a disruptive leader to know, I just need to work out where they're at and move them up?
Yeah. So as a coach, knowing exactly what are the steps, so what the steps are for success, what do they need to actually do, regardless of what they do, what the steps are for them to achieve success in one area, then you can see where the gaps are. So you can go and say, look, there's a gap here in this area. Can we work on this? And it doesn't matter what they actually do. The model will give you the certainty of recognizing the gaps. I think that's the main tool that you can have for certainty, is actually recognizing where the problem resides, where the problem starts.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that's one of the major powers of the critical alignment model, is its ability to do a gap analysis. Yeah. I think that when you are sitting there with a new business owner and you're able to say, here are some areas that maybe you are not aware of. Yeah. And these are also the solutions to the problems that you thought were solved through people. Do you find that, is it that the majority of people you work with still think that the people are the solution and the people are the problem? Or do you ever meet anyone who actually thinks, yeah, I actually knew that we needed to get our leaders focusing on more their attitude and their being in their environment? Or
so it depends. I've had great leaders that are already in that sort of more structural architect sort of mindset, that believe in systems and structures as the solution. But there's certainly people that believe that the problems are solved by changing people or working on behaviors, which is fine. Wherever they are at, we need to kind of work with the lemons that we get given to make lemonade. Yeah. So it's so it's a matter of, you know, showing them that there is a path to make better lemonade in a more effective way. Yeah.
Yeah. Good on you. Good on you. And so when you started at the Coaching Institute, did you know that you were going to go into leadership work, or did it take you a while to work out your niche? Or
leadership came in a little bit later, as in like the knowledge. But what led me to the Coaching Institute and see all the advertising and everything was actually I was looking for a leadership model. So I was actively looking for something called Lean Six Sigma.
Yeah.
And then I met ISIP, and I haven't looked back since. I think it's an awesome model, and I tried to teach it because it's a really good framework.
Yes. Now you've been an ambassador of disruptive leadership for quite a long time. What is the feedback that you get from the business owners? Like when you take someone through disruptive leadership and you show them the critical alignment model and ESIP, as you call it, when you take them through everything, what's the feedback that you get?
There's a journey to be had for them. So for some people, it is a bit overwhelming. That it's, you know, it's kind of something that is unknown.
Right.
But when they start to experience what it means and where it can take them, then as they practice, as they actually implement the model, it starts to make sense for them. So I also keep educating them as they do things, as they think, as they language think. I say, this is part of this dimension. So I say, this is environment, and we're talking about environment, or what we are addressing here is the structure. And so slowly, as they implement, as they learn, as they get the education, the feedback is that it's an awesome model. It's an easy model. It's something that allows them then to see the gaps.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think ultimately what we're doing with the critical alignment model in businesses is ultimately we're teaching them how to think. Because it's...
And that's the disruption. So the disruption is when you go into change management and you go into all these sort of different sort of models to do that, most people come from structures. So let's restructure, or let's do something different. And when they recognize that it's in the thinking, that is in the actually how they are being,
yes,
that's where we're aiming towards. That's the disruption. They go like, but this is not what I thought this was going to be. But it's where we're getting the best results from.
Yes,
yeah.
That's fantastic. And so share with us, what would you like to brag about? What are some of the results you're most proud of that you've been able to be part of in a business?
So there's so many things. So let's start with my entrepreneurs, because they are kind of my little family. So to take people that were not known at all in the marketplace to disrupt areas. So the impact that you can create if you bring a model that is not about doing or about just appearing as, like influencing, but it's about creating impact. So having people driving their businesses based on mission, it makes a big difference. So that's my pride, is to see when one of my clients is creating a massive impact. It's like, wow, that's huge. For the corporates and for the larger sort of businesses, it's how, and I don't know how that's going to sound, but they have pushed the competitors really quickly as they start to implement these models. One that has been in the fight for, I don't know, nearly 18 years or so. And the competitor was always so close. They were kind of really quite at the same level. And then they started to do this sort of differently. And they just left them behind about 2 years ago. They're just like seeing as the top in probably at a global scale. So these are some importers. So that's huge. That was a huge thing. Yeah.
I imagine they must think you are gold.
Yeah, I've been working with them for 3.5 years, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they all use the critical alignment model, and it's through their business. And
yeah, so the senior leaders are, and we're kind of spreading the word, so getting more people to implement that. So we're running meetings on ESIP. It's very interesting.
It's fantastic. Fantastic. Angelica, thank you so much for being a part of this broadcast and sharing your success with us. Congratulations on what you're achieving, what you're continuously achieving. And you're a great demonstration of someone who just, I love that you came in looking for the model. Not everyone knows that the model is the thing that's going to get you success. Sometimes people have to learn that in the school. They think that they have to rely on themselves completely. But you already knew that coming in, and I really want to acknowledge you for your thinking, because you've taken something that just works, and you're just getting fantastic results with it, and now all of your clients are getting better results as well. So massive congratulations from everyone here at the Coaching Institute.
Thank you. Thanks, Matt. And thanks so much for having me. I love to be invited to your space. It's so good. It's like family, isn't it?
It is. Thank you so much. It's great to see you as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good to see you too.